Oh, hello there. Yes, well, there's nothing like a well-informed public debate. And sure enough, that's what we're getting. Yes, nothing like it. Having a bit of free time yesterday, I decided, unfortunately, to delve into the mysteries that are things like Talk TV and GB News and the Telegraph, yes. And, well, there is definitely a lot of manufactured consent out there. Bearing in mind what's going on in America, which is, one of those sort of dystopian things that you stare at and you think, well, surely somebody's going to actually mention this. You know, all of those free speech warriors, all of those must obey the law, must do the right thing, all of those crews, yeah, they must surely mention this stuff. And of course, it's just tucked away, metaphorically, on the inside pages. So, for example, we had this, which is really in its own right. 10 years ago would have been the news for months, but now it's just tucked away. We have US jails Venezuelan gang suspects en masse in brutal El Salvador, yes, as opposed to lovely El Salvador, yeah. Some 238 alleged members of Tren de Agrara gang were flown to a notorious prison despite a judge's order to halt the deportations. Yes, the American government have decided that a group of people they don't particularly like are simply guilty and therefore they have been disappeared into another country. Yes, which is okay, isn't it? Because obviously they're bad people. But you, I hope, most of you, some of you, I hope most of you certainly, can see why that might not be such a good idea. Simply disappearing people into a foreign jail simply because, well, you suspect they might be bad people. Yes. Still, Magna Carta. Did she die in vain? Yes, lots of it going on. The crackdown on American campuses continues, and meanwhile, of course, Lord Young, Toby Young's boy, or Lord Toby Young's boy, or indeed Lord Toby Young, him, has, decided to trumpet the fact that he's working very closely with Elon Musk, who undoubtedly is a free speech warrior like they are. Just not about anything to do with you or me, or potentially our civil rights at all, or indeed our human rights at all. Yes, and our glorious media, of course, have already come up with their own minds about what exactly is needed. And what is needed, of course, is the reform to be in charge, the reform lot to be in charge. That's what we all need, and they're rather cross with people who are a bit more right-wing, suggesting other things. But yesterday we had actually live, as it happened, Nigel Farage's big announcement. Oh, he's going to make a big announcement. What's the big announcement going to be? Well, apparently it is that some Tory voters quite like reform. Yes, I know, it's shocking, isn't it? Yeah, with their 4 MPs, yeah, it's 4 now, isn't it? With their 4 MPs, they have exactly the same number of MPs as the Green Party, but I can't recall the last time that the British media decided to simply live stream a Green Party press conference. Still, they're not important, are they? No, you mustn't watch, don't even think about looking up the Greens and what their policies are. It's all about Nigel and his policies, which we all know are stuff. Yeah. Anyway, he was parading a number of characters, one might say, mostly ex-Tory councillors who have defected to reform, and here they all are. You can see what a disparate bunch they are. Yeah, I mean, some of them are sort of average height, and some of them are less than average height, and some of them are bald. Yeah, that's what we call modern British diversity. I think about half of them basically are ex-Tories. Most of the other ones are independents, and there is a Labour councillor, yes, an ex-Labour councillor, hurrah! Except, of course, well, she's joined Reform because she doesn't really like trans people, so bit of a single issue one there. Yeah, typical of your Labour Party members these days. Oh, I'm just, I don't actually have any principles, so I'm going to join Reform. Of course you are, yes. The welcome home for bigots. If you're a single issue bigot, Reform will have you. Yeah, you just got to be the right sort of bigot for them. You mustn't go too far. Remember, mustn't go too far. The bigotry must be contained within very precise parameters. Yes. Which, of course, brings us on to some of the other people in the news. Because, of course, the big thing that's going on out there is, let me see now. We have to increase defence spending to 5%. I saw Julia Hartley-Brewer insisting suggesting that that was the case because we need more aircraft carriers. Again, according to her yesterday, and various other people that were agreeing with her. Come on to them in a short while. Okay. In order to do that, what we need to do is stop all the people that are scrounging on benefits, because not everybody on benefits, obviously not everybody on benefits. I mean, there are some people without legs that can't work, but apart from those 4 people, everyone that's on benefits is having it way too easy, the same way that they have for the last 40 years. You know, we've had 40 years of crackdowns on benefits, but they still got it way too early because it's the only way that we can pay for the aircraft carriers that we need. You see, it's quite simple, really, isn't it? Yes, and they all need to work a lot harder because there isn't enough productivity, and we need to privatise things. We need to get rid of the civil servants. It's all Doge Mark II, which only Nigel Farage can actually deliver to us, even though it's not part of their agenda. Still, never mind, just vote reform. Don't think about it, just vote reform. But there are other voices out there, of course, that are seeing this whole Trump presidency as an enormously good way of, well, leaping in towards their own particular hobby horses, which, in the case of Zoe Strimple, as you might expect, were all to do with free speech and about intellectually being able to think your way through a problem and then be deported for it. Yes, so we had this astoundingly from her. There's a difference between free speech and persecuting Jews. Yes, indeed. I mean, one of them is a sort of concept and the other one's a physical thing. I get that. But what she said was, well, this is the strapline, deportation of all green card holders who foment pro-Hamas activity could easily cost $1 trillion, but it would be money well spent. Yes. So people that have been given American citizenship should just basically be deported if they don't think the right thing. Oh, yes, but you might say, oh, well, they're pro-Hamas. Well, of course they are. But, of course, Zoe's definition of pro-Hamas is, well, it's a bit broad, really, because she was talking about the horrific conditions that Jewish people in American universities have to put up with. I mean, absolutely appalling, yes. And you might be saying to yourself, oh, are they being brutally murdered then? Well, not quite. Are they being attacked then, physically? Well, not quite. Are they being starved, maybe? Or not having clean water or medical supplies? Well, no. Apparently what it is they have to put up with some people around them that might not agree with them, which I'm sure you will agree is something that just cannot happen on, a university campus. Imagine that, eh? Yeah, imagine someone like Zoe who's spent the last 10 years insisting that we have to have free speech and young people should be, allowed to think what they want, especially at universities, because they're under threat, is now suggesting that anybody that does actually do that should be deported. Well done, Zoe. Yes. God. It's astounding that she manages to get, walking through her Waitrose on her own and people don't, metaphorically throw things at her. Still, coming on to other fine Aryan specimens, if I can put it that way, we neatly come on to Connor Tomlinson, who was, I'm quite convinced that Connor Tomlinson is going to come out eventually with a statement that is based somewhere around calling certain people Nigerian lovers. I might be not exactly using particular words there, but he's damned close to it. So we had him. He was complaining once again about the non-story about Shakespeare being non-colonial or something. Anyway, we had disingenuous, grifting race communists, he called people like me, which got me thinking, I'm not entirely sure what a race communist is. I think it's just somebody that doesn't agree with him. And the thing, though, that was really getting me about this is, yes, I know that this is just a still from the video, but it doesn't get any better than that, is that, I'm sorry, Connor, but until you can put up a candidate or somebody that's a bit more Aryan looking, I really don't want to hear about your DNA. Mate, you're short-sighted, you've got an MA in writing, and those lips and the rest of it. Very, very dodgy. And Connor, it's a bit Irish, isn't it? Anyway, the Beckley boy, was suggesting those things. I am quite convinced that he is eventually going to one day stumble over his words and come out with something that is really dreadful, and people will say, oh, well, he didn't mean it. It's a bit like doing a Roman salute a couple of times. You're not actually a Nazi, you just look like one. Yes, anyway, that's the British media for you. Yeah, no conversation, no debate, just a couple of people sat in a room agreeing with each other that basically you need to work harder and I need to think better thoughts. Otherwise, if I don't, Well, there is somewhere a jail abroad that I can go to. Yes, you can send me east, can't you? You can put us all in cattle trucks and we can go trundling off and nobody will know that we're there. Still, it's a price well worth paying. God, don't we live in interesting times? Ooh, I think Neil Kinnock got it wrong. I think he should have added to his list about things not to be that you actually don't agree. That appears to be the biggest crime these days, and I'm one that's happy to break it. I don't mind, they can come for me. I've lived my life, but by God, I'm prepared to take a few of them with me. Do have a lovely, lovely, lovely day. Do enjoy Tuesday. You never know, it might be sunny. I think it will be sunny, but nip. Yeah, enjoy.